I'm thinking 22.
Welcome aboard to NJ.com's video chat here as we talk MLB GM meetings live from Phoenix. We have our Yankees reporter, our Mets reporter, and they're going to fill us in with everything that's been going on this week and what to look forward to here on the MLB Hot Stove. Brendan Kuty covering the Yankees, Mike Vorkunov covering the Mets for us for NJ Advanced Media. Guys, how's Phoenix?
Lovely in the 5 seconds a day we're outside.
I'm looking at a palm tree, Joe.
Well, that's not bad. It's actually pretty nice here, but it's going to be getting pretty cold as you guys come back. The hot stove, of course, heating up, and Mike, the Mets were the team to make the first splash here. You know, not the biggest player in the world, but a nice addition in Michael Kuty. What were your thoughts on the move a couple days ago?
Yeah, isn't that weird to say the Mets make the first splash season? Yeah. I mean, I thought it was a smart move. It caught everyone by surprise, obviously, and they had to give up a first-round pick for it. But I think it's a good addition. It lengthens out their lineup, which really needed help last year. It gives them a right-handed bat. They were a little bit lefty-heavy at the top of the lineup. And, you know, it gives them a guy, if healthy, you know, should be a good addition to the lineup that you can plug in somewhere behind David Wright. Gives you versatility because he can play first base against lefties, too. And the first-round pick is what it is. You know, it's not the NBA draft. It's not the NFL draft. First-round picks don't have the same hit rate in baseball. And even if he does hit, you're not going to see him for 3-5 years down the road. You know, who knows what that's going to be like then.
Brendan, with the Yankees, so far quiet, but a lot of news coming around, a lot of rumors. You've been writing about them, about what they might do at shortstop. Jeter obviously gone, and it's the first time in a long time the Yankees have had to think about what they do at shortstop here. What is the latest on the Elvis Andrus rumors? Because we keep hearing those. Big contract. Guy has ability, but he wasn't great last year.
Well, right now there's not a ton of movement on that front, except Brian Cashman and Texas Rangers GM John Daniels were having dinner late last night at a bar here. Who knows what they were talking about? Could have been, you know, about local Phoenix beers, or it could have been about Elvis Andrus. We'll find out at noon today when Brian Cashman speaks to the media.
All right, so Brian Cashman's going to speak at noon, and I'm sure all sorts of, GMs and executives have been running around there in Phoenix with you guys. And as we look forward to the next few weeks here with both of these teams, we'll go to you, Mike, with the Mets. What is next on the Mets front? They got their outfielder. They got Michael Kuty. Is shortstop the next move we see here out of the Mets, you think?
Yeah, that's the next way to go for them. You know, that's the other big glaring hole that they had this offseason to fill this offseason. So now they pivot there. They still have their stockpile of young players, you know, all the assets they can use in the trade. So it's about deciding which ones you want to give up, how much you want to give up for the type of player you can get in, you know, on the trade market. And you know, there's a lot of teams that need shortstops. That's the thing. So they will have competition out there. So it's really, you know, they have a pretty good farm system. They developed under Sandy Alderson. They're not really looking to make trades and give stuff away. But you know, if they have to do it to improve the major league team for 2015, it seems like they'll do it.
And there are plenty, but not plenty of great shortstops out there. From Hanley Ramirez down, each free agent candidate has a question mark, and each guy available through trade, their team's asking for an arm and a leg. So it's really hard to gauge who might move where at this point. Though Brian Cashman on the Yankee side has gone to extreme lengths to praise Stephen Drew despite the terrible season he had last year.
Guys, as we talk shortstops, there's one, and he's under contract. He's not available as a free agent, but there's one that, to me, that just kind of stands out here, and that would be Troy Tulowitzki with the Rockies. And there were rumors of the Rockies maybe willing to move on or listen to offers finally for their franchise player. Each of you, put a percentage on Troy Tulowitzki playing in New York next season, whether it be a trade for the Yankees or the Mets. Give me a percentage, 5%, 10%, 0. What are the odds Tulowitzki comes to the Big Apple?
You want to start?
At 7.4%.
All right, 7.4.
Based off my algorithms going off the Dunkin' Donuts I've been fueled with this morning, it's going to take a lot to pry Troy Tulowitzki from Colorado. He wouldn't mind leaving. Colorado's GM, however, did say Troy is committed to the campaign there. And even if the Yankees or the Mets were to ask for Troy, there's a lot of question marks with him, too. His health, mainly. Then, do you really want to pay him the $100+ million that's left on his deal in years. He's 30.
You know, those are all good points. I'll make the reverse Price is Right prediction and say 7% to trade for him if you're the Mets. You know, he's expensive, really expensive. He's got injury problems that have fogged him for the last 3 years. You have to give up a lot to likely get him. You know, so you're really going to be, if you trade for him, you're trading for a guy you can plug in the middle of the lineup, but also you're not sure is going to be there for 100-plus games for the next 5 years that he's under contract, 6 years under contract, and then you have to pay him, you know, $20 million a year, which is a lot of money for a team with a $100 million budget and already has $36 million committed to David Wright and Curtis Granderson, not to mention what it'll do to the farm system. So there's a lot of reasons why he wouldn't come more than he would.
Now, and let's throw a flip side devil's advocate idea out there. Are the Yankees a Troy Tulowitzki away from serious playoff contention and World Series hopes? Maybe. I mean, the team didn't hit well last year. It pitched well. Most of its arms are coming back. The team is aggressively pursuing Brandon McCarthy. Brandon McCarthy said he wants to come back to New York next year. He said this in September. Middle of the order bat, like Stephen Drew, energizes the fan base, energizes the team. And the Yankees, as Brian Cashman said yesterday, are forever in a win-now mode. Getting Troy Tulowitzki would reflect that win-now mindset.
Brendan, you mentioned win now in the Yankees, and everything we've heard, everything you've written, is that it seems like the Yankees are staying out of the big-ticket items this year. You know, they're not in on the Scherzer, not in on Lester yet. Do you expect that to last? We've heard this before from the Yankees. I remember the year they went out and signed Johnny Damon. They weren't going to go out and sign any big free agents, and all of a sudden, around Christmas time, Johnny Damon showed up. Do you think the Yankees are really going to kind of lay low mid-tier, second-tier free agents this time around?
Remember last year? What they were saying over and over again, they had one number in their head, $189 million they wanted to stay under that threshold, and then they blew past it for Masahiro Tanaka. By the way, a guy that Brian Cashman at first said projected to be a number 3 starter. For all you hear that the Yankees are staying out of play for big-ticket items, take it with a grain of salt. This team can spend at any moment, and that could be how they're feeling right now. That could be their true agenda, or Brian Cashman, as he said yesterday, could come across a deal that just makes sense. And Hal Steinbrenner's never been one to veto a deal just based on the money alone.
Guys, tell me about the whispers out there. I mean, there always seems to be a team or two each offseason that kind of surprises everyone and signs a few big free agents. Who's that team this year? Is it going to be the Red Sox that spend the most money? Who's that team you're hearing, and you talk to other guys out there that maybe will surprise everyone, maybe will go out there and spend some money and maybe try to become a contender overnight? Is there a team you're hearing that might do that?
Well, it seems like the Cubs are linked to a lot of high-priced free agents, obviously pitching. It looks like they're, by signing Joe Madden, they're moving towards 2015 more so than 2016 or 17. You know, so that would be one team that makes a move. Obviously, the Phillies, you never know what they're going to do. They're in a rebuild, but they're linked heavily to Yasmani Tomas, which somewhat doesn't make sense until you realize he's 24 and you can get him for 7 years, and you have a middle-of-the-order hitter if he pans out. So, I mean, those two teams are always interesting to watch because there's some level of unpredictability there.
What he said, the Cubs seem like the best bet to be the movers and shakers here. Joe Madden puts them in a let's get this done right now mode. We've heard them linked to possibly John Lester, possibly Max Scherzer, possibly both. I would say the Cubs are a team to look for to spend a whole bunch of dough this year. And they have Theo Epstein, a guy who's familiar with, you know, moving big dollars from his time in Boston.
Guys, as we look forward here to the rest of this offseason, the rest of the hot stove, what do you expect in terms of actual moves? Is the GM meetings, which you're at right now, is that kind of lay the groundwork for the offseason in terms of conversation and discussion? I mean, when do you expect the big guys, the big free agents start coming up? Thanksgiving, Christmas, the winter meetings you guys will be at in San Diego. When do you expect the real dominoes to start falling here?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it would be probably a few weeks from now. This is kind of where, you know, it's a precursor to everything. Free agency started essentially about a week ago at this point, where you can start negotiating with free agents that aren't on your team. So, you know, that's been going on. They just had the qualifying offer deadline pass on Monday, and that was kind of the next bullet point on the timeline there. So you have this. You can start talking with teams. Everyone's in the same place. There's agents and front offices here, and you would expect this as negotiations start heating up the next few weeks that some deals will get done. Baseball free agency usually takes so much longer than the NFL and the NBA, which are kind of just you have this one big tunnel of movement in the first week or two after it opens. This is prolonged, not to mention that there's so many moving pieces. You have to consider trades. You have to consider all the prospects available. So, I think by the GM meetings, by the winter meetings in San Diego, around there, it's likely when everything starts to come to a full boil. Anytime.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. We will.
Well after the, just before the GM meetings, the Yankees had already signed Brian McCann. They had already signed Jacoby Ellsbury. Teams aren't going to wait. Players aren't going to wait.
Last one for you guys. I'm going to put you on the spot. Give me a prediction. What's next for each of the Mets and the Yankees? You can give me a player or a position or just a move. What do you think's next? Mike, start with the Mets. What is next few weeks, next few days? What do the Mets do next?
I mean, I think it's try to find a shortstop. Try to find one in a trade. Maybe someone like Seattle's Brad Miller. Maybe the big price that they can finally get for Starlin Castro. He's available if the Cubs are amenable to trading him for a pitcher. Somewhere in there. They need a shortstop. They're not going to give the farm away because they still have someone who's passable to play there in Wilmer Flores, who has upside as a hitter. You could live with that, especially now that the lineup's not as bad as it was a week ago, and hope that he hits, which really isn't that unreasonable. But it will be a shortstop in some capacities where they're looking for maybe a reliever too, just to kind of help out and give some length to the bullpen as well.
I'd say the Yankees have competing top priorities. First, finding a shortstop. Second, filling their hitting coach position. There aren't going to be many new candidates out there. Brian Cashman said the team has an idea of what it wants to do and where it wants to go. Look for James Rawson, their minor league hitting coordinator, to be the top dog for the position if Raul Ibanez doesn't end up accepting it. He's right now on the board for possible managerial candidates in Tampa. And then with shortstop, Brian Cashman has been effusive in his praise for Stephen Drew. Yesterday, he said there's no way he's as bad of a hitter as he showed last year. He also said you need defense at shortstop. You can't sacrifice that. Stephen Drew is a head and shoulders above any other defensive shortstop on the free agent market right now.
That he is. I was hoping it was going to be Chili Davis for that hitting coach spot, just because I loved his name as a kid growing up and watching him hit. But he went to the Red Sox. Guys, this was fun. Appreciate it. Enjoy your last day there in Phoenix, and we'll catch up again soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe.
Joe, you're the man. Thank you.
There they go. Brennan and Mike out in Phoenix covering the GM meetings for NJ Advanced Media.